Hi, I'm Mark Sumner, CEO and founder of Robertson Sumner. Welcome to the Channel Chat podcast, where we will share learnings, best practices and failures with some of the biggest names in the IT industry, all with the simple aim of being the go-to place for IT sales professionals and managers to learn from others with the ultimate goal of maximising performance and growing the channel. Hello, I'm Mark Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have the pleasure of having Vince O'Hanlon from VitrX in the building. How are you doing, Vince?
Fine, thank you very much. Thanks for having me today.
No, my pleasure. So, Vince, I do ask everyone that comes on the show to tell me how they got into this crazy world of IT and how you kicked off. So, what was your first job into the world of sales or IT sales?
IT sales. I was working for an IT leasing company where they were leasing IT equipment, and I saw an opportunity there where the end of lease equipment, they could basically just give it away because they're making so much money at the front end of the lease. And I could see an opportunity where I could really make a profitable business out of it and start selling the IT equipment at the end. And I did. I turned it around, made some really good money out of it. Then unfortunately the market died. Second-hand IT equipment or brand new equipment became very cheap. And I suddenly thought I'm going to be selling everything at a bit of a loss here. So I thought I couldn't really work out a commission plan where I was going to be selling everything at a loss that was going to work for me. So I started buying in equipment. And I looked through some of their clients that the leasing company had and just thought there's some great opportunities and brilliant names here. And some of the relationships we had before within the organisation just straight in. Yeah.
So the leasing company they didn't sell anything IT before?
No. So well, they did previously. Right. They outsourced it and it died, then started to do it again. And made a great success. The first customer I called just happened to be a massive company, started with A on the list. And they put up millions of pounds worth of equipment in the first deal with some nice margin there because the guy told us it was an end of life product that they couldn't get, and we just happened to we've got relationships with all the distributors and managed to source the product for them.
And that was the sales job you started in IT. Was it purely over the phone? Was it face to face, or how did it?
It was over the phone the first deal. So that was a bit of a trial, to give it a go and see whether we can sell stuff. And then gradually I moved away from the second-hand equipment, end of lease equipment, and moved on to new equipment. So I could see there was a better opportunity because we had access to invoices coming in. We could see that there's different prices of people paying for the same product. So it was an easy win, really. Although it's very difficult because people buy for it on relationships. And when you've got a relationship, some people, you can cold call them and ring them and say, I've got the best service. But you need to be a trusted partner. And if you've got a trusted partner, people stay with them. It's very difficult to break into a new account. There needs to be a reason for it. Typically, you can get in when someone can't find a product. The product's in constraint or they need something urgently. So people would prefer to stay with their existing supplier. So it's good for us.
Was it an easy win that the leasing company they're providing finance, were they, for the IT equipment?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So was that an easy in to talk about? Obviously, if they're providing the finance, you can now talk about IT. Is that an easy win to get in?
It is. Yeah, it's easy because you get the introduction straight through to the decision makers, right. And that way you can win some very large deals straight away as well. It's not always down to the suppliers, the price. A lot of the time, if you're talking to a finance person as opposed to an IT person, pricing is always going to win in a lot of instances. Although there is lots of loyalty to suppliers, and I can understand why. You've got a trusted partner, you order something from them, it turns up the next day, you've got a good price. So when you cold call people and try and sell them new equipment, it's very difficult to get in there. I can understand why. Same for us. We get people hounding us all the time, trying to set us up. We do have accounts with all the distributors. We buy direct from vendors as well. But it's the account manager. People are buying from people, and we demand excellent service from our resellers and our distributors because people are buying from people. If we ring out, we want a quick response. That if we're getting a good service, we can pass on a good service. If we're getting poor service from our distributors, we can pass on some poor service. So we demand, and we get our distributors are fantastic. We do get some really good account managers in there because we can buy from all distributors, but you've got a good distributor giving you good account management, we can pass it on. It makes us look good and makes our client look good. At the end of the day, we like to think of our customers think of us as an extension of their IT department, where in effect they can just say, look, we need this lot, and we'll sort it out for them, rather than them spending a lot of time in detail trying to work out what they need. Okay, so
how long did you work for this leasing company for?
24 years. I know I don't look old enough.
What? You do look old enough.
Thanks.
So you worked there for 24 years. So very brave move, and I take my hat off to anyone that's stupid enough or brave enough to start their own company and work for themselves, because it is totally different than working someone else.
Yeah.
What made you do it after 24 years to set up your own firm?
I think it got to the point where the company I was working for was a large organisation. It got acquired by a global bank, and I can see when you're a big bank, you need to have a lot of process and procedures in place. And some at the time I suddenly thought they're just crazy ones, but now, having had my own business, I can see they're sensible ones and see why you need them.
Give me an example.
Just from, actually not with us, but a client that's recruited people who have not done the background checks on people, where they've been committing fraud, for instance, within that organisation and things. So you can see why, I employed someone before and they needed blood, they needed a utility bill, they needed a copy of their passport, a copy of their driving licence. You need to know who you're employing. You need to be able to trust those employees, and some people just don't do that. I think, I've seen customers just grow like mad and they're struggling to find good talent. It is very difficult to get good talent these days.
Okay, so you made the decision to start up VitrX.
Yep.
What was the hardest thing to start off with?
It was actually surprisingly quite easy.
Don't say that. Everyone's going to be starting their own company if you say that.
Yeah, no, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, I've got lots of relationships. I think if you don't have those relationships, and I interview so many people, as you know, for jobs, and there's so many people that have got a wealth of clients that are ordering from them, and they think that they're going to jump ship and they take them all with them. I've had some relationships with lots of customers, 25, 30 years plus, where they're dealing with me, they're not dealing with the organisation I'm there. And lots of people think they are. A lot of people are just order takers; they're just taking orders for the company. And I think it was one of your colleagues said earlier, one of the guys he employed, the guy had a massive book, jumped ship, thought he'd take all the £1 million clients with him, and it just never happened.
What gave you the confidence then, when you started your own business, that these companies would follow you? Because there's one thing, if you've got a big brand behind you,
yeah,
like you work for, you obviously had good relationships with them, and then you're working for, well, at the time, VitrX was unknown, no one even knows them.
Exactly, yeah. It's a massive risk for the client as well. So I think they need to have that trust. So they need to know that I'm going to deliver what I say I'm going to do. And
how did they know that though? Yes, they dealt with you the previous company, but you're working for a big firm. How did they know, had the confidence in you? You're suddenly going to be like, actually, you're going to be able to deliver with Joe Blog Limited.
I think they can tell. I'm very passionate in what I do. I don't do everything to make money out of things. I do it for the love, and I like helping people. And I've been fortunate enough to employ some really good people. It's nice to employ people that can do a better job than I can. I've got some amazing people in the team. It's nice to know that I've got people that can do a job far better than I can, and all very passionate. I think you need to motivate yourself. You need to keep them, look after them. We buy everyone a birthday present every year. We give them their birthday off. We buy them lunch every day. We've got a beautiful office in a manor house. It's lovely grounds. You look out the window and you've got deer and foxes running around. It's a nice working environment. I could just be in a grotty office, looking out to a car park, but I think it's nice to have that nice environment where people enjoy coming to work.
And when you kicked off, though, how, because that's the utopia, isn't it? Everyone happy, great office, etc. When you first kicked off, what was the big struggles there? Because it can't be just, I took loads of clients with me and it was all success, or was it? Maybe it was that easy.
Yeah, I was quite fortunate when I started the business. I had a business partner, and he had about 100 employees. So I had access to lots of staff. So if I needed terms and conditions doing, that was done for me. If I needed some finance done, so it really helped. Had I been a typical startup, I wouldn't have had access to that resource. So I really appreciate the help that he gave me there. Okay.
So as you moved on, sort of year 2, year 3, how did it start growing? How did it move on?
I think it's recruiting some good salespeople. It's very difficult to get people, and the problem I had is that I came from doing a lot of sales myself and trying to let go of those, not for me but some of my clients. So I've got clients that are ringing me and they're saying, Vince, can I have a quote for this and that and the other? And I have to make excuses sometimes. I'm on the train, I'm out of the office, but I'm sitting next to a colleague saying, can you do that? Because I can't grow the business by doing all the deals myself. I need to take a back seat.
Did all the deals go through you when you started?
Originally, yes.
Yeah.
So gradually it then be that I've got some people that can do stuff quicker than me. I'm pretty rubbish. I'm almost banned from doing quotes in the office now because I'll probably mess them up. So, but I've got some really talented people in the office that can do stuff exceptionally well and really proactive as well. If someone asks me for a quote and it's being shipped to Germany, there's people there. They'll go, that's not when they go to get process the order. They'll say, that's not the postcode you gave me originally. Because some people just pick one out. The PO's crazy one for France. It would end up going to the wrong place. But it's spotting that. I'd never spot that. It's having the level of detail.
And so with the growing pains as you grew, so you started off with just yourself, but you had access to these 100 staff, is that right?
Yeah.
When was the first time you sort of took an employee on?
I'm trying to think the first one. It's probably after about a month or so.
Oh, quick. So pretty quick then.
Yeah, well, it was profitable from day one. So that's the thing. I had some really good relationships. And it's not only the relationships, we had some really good support from some distributors as well. So I think it's the fact I've been doing it for a long time. Some of the big distributors came in week one and gave us massive credit lines from day one. I think it's because the clients.
Why would they do that though? Yeah, when you're working for a leasing company and a big bank, great, but it can't be. Is it just on the back of Vince says it's going to be good, or it can't be just that? Surely they can give you those credit lines. I
don't know, but they did, and there's several of them as well. But I think it's based on the clients. When I've got a deal for one of the first deals was a couple hundred or about £250,000 for a client, but the company's a massive high street retailer. If I was selling to AJ Exports, probably be a different scenario. But the fact they know where the goods are going to, and they're probably shipping them there, it's just a paperwork transaction, really.
Right, so they're because it was more brand names, they're the confidence in you that it.
And that's the thing. That the clients we target are mainly they're very well known clients. We like to add value, and I think we can do that by working with large organisations.
Okay, so let's go on that. So why would a company, a startup, why would you target larger organisations? Surely it's easy to get quicker wins from smaller organisations, isn't it?
I think it's where we can add value.
Right.
I think what happens is because we're nimble. I always say that we're in a little speedboat and we can get there and do the deal before our the super tankers even got there to see the client. And I think it's the fact that all of my sales guys are 3 or 4 people in one. They'll go and speak to a client. They're very technical. All of them are really highly trained and technical. So you get an opportunity to see a client, which is very difficult to get an appointment because people are busy these days. While he's talking to the guy starts talking about dedupe, thin provisioning, RAID, and he'll say, I need to bring my techie guy back in. You may never get an appointment to get your techie guy back in there again. As my guy walks away, he's got the full knowledge, he knows what the client wants. Also, he goes and does the bid. So he's doing the bid as well. So he's passionate about that bid. He wants to win that deal. And
would he broker the deal as well?
So he's in effect, he's
procurement and he's the seller.
He is. So he's working out the price, and so he's haggling because he's passionate about that deal. So he's going to be talking to all the different vendors because we're vendor independent, get the best possible price, and he's going to work on behalf of the client to get the best price because we make our money when we buy it, not when we sell it. If someone else, 2 or 3 people down the line, are doing that bid for him, someone's doing the technical spec of it, goes to finance to be signed off, he may get a price back a few days later or that day, and it's higher than the price he knows he's got to get the price point out. So if he's in control of his buy price as well, he can be haggling with the vendors or the distributors to get that price.
So with that, because most people aren't doing that, they're having to sort of haggle to do. Well, maybe they are, but buying sort of the products as well, and then they can make the margins. You're making more. You make your money when you're actually buying the product rather than selling it.
Yeah, I think it's because we look at the bigger picture. So if someone rings up and wants 10 laptops, we don't go and do a bid or do a price 10 laptops. We'll normally we'll be in that high level in the organisation rather than the purchasing person. We want to look at the bigger deal. What is your refresh policy? Have you got how many laptops you've got? 3, 4, 10,000 laptops. We'll see what the refresh policy is, and we'll apply for a bid. We'll say, look, we want to work with you long term. We've got most of our clients have very long relationships. We've got many that are 20, 25 years where I've got a personal relationship with them. I think it's where they've got the trust. They know they can order from us and they're going to get it next day. And I think it's because we're very passionate. We're proactive to make sure it is going to be there. We'll ring up every day and make sure that everything's been shipped. If it hasn't been shipped, we'll get a same-day courier to send it. Well, maybe they bought a keyboard for £15, but we spent £100 getting it there. But we know that they need it. It's an urgent part.
Would you make a loss on a deal to look at the long-term relationship?
Oh, definitely. We had a call recently. A guy rang up. The finance director said his car broken into, laptop's been stolen. The company's in Milton Keynes, got a distributor in Milton Keynes. We got a same-day courier. Within an hour, he had the laptop. So, but the finance director, we made the IT guy look good because a couple of hours later, he go, "There's your new laptop," and he's like, "Wow." He doesn't really care where it came from. The FD. It's the fact that the IT guy's got him a laptop within 2 hours, all set with his software on.
So the FD thinks that the IT guy's a hero. The IT thinks you're a hero because you've got it there within an hour.
Exactly.
So someone called up, lost a laptop, and you got a laptop to them in an hour.
Yeah, it was about 2 hours. Yeah. But it's thinking outside the box, and I think it's the fact that my sales guys do that on their own. They haven't got to ring me and ask me for authority. They can just do it. They've all got a credit card to fix a problem if they need to get anything done.
So they'd have to come to you and sort of say, "Look, by the way, Vince, the FD had lost his laptop. I had to pay a same day courier £50, and we've sold it. I might have made £100 loss, but this is going to be for a long term relationship, and
they don't even need to tell me. They just do it.
They'll just do it.
Yeah, they're all grown up enough, and they're in charge of their own P&L basically, so they know that that's going to be a £50 hit on their profitability of that month.
So all your sales guys, they're running their own sort of mini P&L within your business.
Yeah, exactly. So it's up to them. They may want to give stuff away for free to a client. For if someone needs an eval unit and they can't find one, they just go and buy one. If the opportunity's big enough, it's worth a while.
Okay. How would you then advise? And that's great if they've got the historic relationships and they've got the authority and the nimbleness to be able to do deals at a loss or a small profit or a big profit. If you are a newbie, rookie in the market, and you're working for one of the big top 50, and then obviously their price is already set, etc. And you haven't got those relationships, and you haven't got those 25-year historical relationships where you can leave into, how would you sort of advise them to sort of try and actually get and establish those relationships and try and get on the ladder, because it's pretty tough nowadays, isn't it?
It's very tough. The trouble is that there's people going through the yellow pages, as they are, just ringing every single person there and doing deal regs and just trying to win the business. But you can't make a salesman. I think you've got to have that quirky personality. When you've got a room full of people, there's one person that will probably stand out that's got the control. That one person may not necessarily be the right profile for your client. And one thing I do a lot is match the right profile for the client. Some of my clients before don't particularly like an account manager. I'll swap him, because you need to have the right person. If you think someone's a bit cocky and is a bit of a geezer, you won't want to buy from him. So you do need to match the personalities. I think it's very important for the clients, because people work from people.
So you're a natural salesperson. If you were going back 25 years, but you were going into today's market, right? So social selling, LinkedIn, etc. How would you go about trying to establish yourself as a sales guy in this market?
Very tough, isn't it? That's all the millennials coming through now. I think they're probably WhatsApping their clients to get them a deal, whereas we'd probably never do that. But admittedly, you need to work out. I've got a client I've been supplying to for 25 years. I'd say in 25 years I've probably had 20 emails from him ever. And it's when he tends to send me a spec. He wants to talk on the phone. I think you need to understand how your client wants to communicate with you. Does he want to be on the phone? Does he want a WhatsApp? Does he want an email? When's his busy period? Don't ring him in the morning because he's busy sorting the servers out or to take backup or something. So it's just getting close to your customer and understanding. But it is tough out there, really tough.
Yeah, and how would you go about doing that? Because I think that's an interesting point. People use different forms of communication: WhatsApp, texting, Messenger, email, phone, whatever it is, going for a drink after work, whatever it is. How do you think is the best way of actually establishing what form of communication they like? Is it just feedback by basically saying don't ring me in the morning?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn seems pretty good. From LinkedIn for communicating there, people do. Well, the thing is that once you go onto LinkedIn, you can. If I send someone an email, they go, don't know who you are, and they probably just think it's another rubbish email, delete. If you send it on LinkedIn, you've got a profile. You can see who the guys. You can see he's connected to 20 people you know, and you go, this guy looks a bit credible on here. You can see the company he's worked for. You think, he's worked for a company I used to work at. Suddenly you've got a bit of background on someone. I think it helps me as well. I've been in to see clients, and I can see that they've previously worked in companies I've worked in, and same from some of my sales guys, and we know people in common. So it may be you put into the conversation, by the way, I see you know John. I used to work with him. And suddenly you got something to break the ice. It's very difficult, isn't it? Would
you be more likely to respond to a LinkedIn message rather than an email from somebody you didn't know?
I think so, yeah. And that's the thing. I get emails all the time saying I've been trying to get hold of you, and I almost feel like saying, well, you must try a bit harder because no one's tried ringing me. And there's so many people. The B2B businesses are always constantly. I've tried B2B business in the past. I know there's some very successful ones out there, but the trouble is, you get someone on the phone. It can be quite difficult to get someone on the phone, and we've had instances before where a B2B business has got someone on the phone, and then you just ringing them, you just can't get through because they're busy.
So you've obviously got some, very large customers that you deal with, and that's what you target more. Just going on the back of what you said there, trying to get through to decision makers. Now most decision makers, especially at these larger companies, aren't going to pick up the phone, especially from someone they don't know. So how the hell are you getting through to them now? If you were advising someone yourself that actually you're trying to get the head of BP or the current manager of Barclays or Michael Page or WH Smith, or whoever it is, how would you actually? What would be the best method to get through to them?
Recommendations and partnerships. So I don't think we don't call any of them, the ones we've got into. It's working with partnerships and knowing people that sell into them or knowing people that got a relationship with them. So it's all introductions. We've got into some very big accounts where someone's just given an intro, give this guy a call, and suddenly you realise it's a huge multi-million-pound opportunity that you would never get. But I think it's just having the credibility. I think we've got a good brand out there, and we're going for near enough 9 years now. And I think it's because we deliver what we say we're going to do. But you need to do it constantly, time after time. Even if you're losing money doing it, it's just keeping your credibility. Things can go wrong from time to time. Couriers are the bane of our life, where it's 5 o'clock and the guy can't bother to deliver it. He can go home instead when it's supposed to be on a pre-12 that morning. But we send a courier to the courier. That tends to work. I don't know many people that do that. We do that all the time.
You send a courier to the courier?
Yeah. So
really? You'd send...
Done it many times. Well, they can't find the building, and they say they've been there, and he's got a green door, and he's blatantly got a red door. We just send a courier to the courier to get it from the courier. and get it delivered to the client on the same day.
Wow, unbelievable.
I got no excuse then.
Some Gartner research that come out, or actually might not be Gartner research, actually might be LinkedIn research. They were saying now that 20% of all decision makers are changing jobs within a year. So if you've got 5 clients, by the end of 2020, one of them is going to be gone.
Yeah.
How do you see that as an opportunity for either expanding new companies, or do you see that as actually your market could be shrinking even more? Because decision makers are changing all the time, so potentially there could be no loyalty.
No, it's great for us because I think in our clients we build very strong relationships with them in the IT department, and we don't just have one point of contact. We go in there, we see them, we meet multiple points of contact in there because people do move a lot in the IT industry. And the advantage there is that if we put our rubber stamp on that company already, wherever they go, we've made them look good, so they're going to take us with them. We see a lot, when there's a lot of project managers are fantastic for us. But what we find is some of those project managers will jump and they'll go to an organisation where they're not in control of the budget or procurement or purchasing. But we still maintain relationships and contact with them regularly. They'll then go somewhere else and they go, right, I'm here now, Vince, can you give me a quote for this? And some of them try, can you get us on this bid, or there's global bids where we can't get into for whatever reason. They've got a multi-mega £1 million deal already. But it's surprising sometimes. They just pop up and you think, wow, huge opportunity. But those guys are brilliant for us.
One thing I get complained about from the channel a lot is, and you might see this as an opportunity, and I want to get your thoughts on it, is benchmarking.
Right.
Where a company will ring up, they've got the current incumbent on a lockdown supplier with, let's say it's Softcat.
Yeah.
They're using Softcat and they're getting pricing, but they also use another company, let's say your company, just to benchmark prices against all the time. So they actually never have given you the business, but they just ask you to quote and produce a quote and give them some benchmarking. What do you do to prevent that?
Well, admittedly, lots of big companies out there need to have several pricing. And I'm sure a lot of our customers need to go and get 2 or 3 pricing. To do a quote is pretty quick for us. We've got automated systems.
So do you do quotes for companies that you never ever get business from?
Yep.
Why do you do that though? Why don't you just sort of say, look, you're not going to buy this from us, why am I doing this?
We do it time and time again. There's some companies that they just do it. And I had one customer, I did it for 2 years. She left and went to a big company, and they're a huge client now. There was politics in that organisation, she couldn't buy from us. Someone was on the board of another IT company, they had to buy there, but she wanted to prove that she could save them money because she was the procurement woman. She's like, I can save you some money, but we need to go with this supplier. So
she was at a company. You were benchmarking for 2 years. You never got a quote offer. You never got anything offer.
Single order, no.
And because the director of that business was using another supplier, and he was going to use them anyway because they were.
She had to buy from them.
But you knew that for 2 years that you'd never get a quote off them. Why did you continue giving her quotes after year one? Wouldn't you have thought, just forget it? I'm just wasting my time.
I was hoping I was going to get an order at some point, and then we got loads of orders. But the thing is that I get the same thing. Well, I've got a client, he's ordering lots of stuff from me. He goes to another company, and he'll ask me for price, and he's trying to get me in there because he knows we can deliver him a good service. And then eventually it opens up and we can sell some stuff in there, or we move something else. There's lots of companies I've been trying to for years. So I'll give you an example. One client I've been trying for 8 years. We've just got in there last month.
8 years trying to get into prospecting into a client via benchmarking, quotes, whatever. You've been.
They were a client before where I used to work. 8 years. I got in there. I'm persistent.
That's very persistent. That's very persistent. So would you see potentially benchmarking as a sales opportunity, as like leads?
Yeah, definitely. But the thing is, it's not about saving money for some people. You got. I had a particular client. Been a client for a very long time. The IT manager left. New guy came along. He wanted the cheapest, nastiest stuff he could get. He was buying consumer stuff to go in retail stores, and we were telling him it was the wrong stuff. A year later, he apologised to me and said, "Yep, I bought the wrong stuff. You couldn't get it maintained, couldn't get it fixed because the manufacturer would build 1,000 of them, and then they move on to the next components. It caused them a big problem."
A lot of we get a lot of requests about or discussion about vendors going direct and cutting out partners. And we also get a lot of feedback from partners sort of saying we're reluctant to tell the vendors our company names or introduce them to our customers because as soon as we might even tell them we've got a quote with the customer, they start going direct. And why would companies do that? Why would actually the vendors go direct and sort of cut out yourselves when you've actually told them, the company and the client?
I know they do it a lot as well. But
why do they do that? What's the benefit of obviously, I'll get the benefit they're going to do a deal, but they're cutting the relationship out with you completely. You wouldn't trust them again.
I know. Well, funny enough, we've got a client actually we're selling to at the moment. They've gone direct to the client before we started dealing with them, but we're adding value to them because everything they order takes 2 weeks from the manufacturer. We're delivering stuff. We're on the bid and we deliver it next day. So they're buying stuff from us. Initially, it's just accessories and power supplies and screens and things like that. But they order a lot of it because they're a big company. But rather than wait 2 weeks, they need it urgently. They're paying near enough the same price, but getting it from us. So we just help them out. But we sell them everything else outside that particular manufacturer as well, which makes it all worthwhile.
So what again, going back to it, so the vendor's benefit is they're trying to get more margin, they're cutting you out. But long term, that's completely affecting the channel, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think the thing is that if a manufacturer's in there, they can basically stop the erosion. The thing is that we're trying to get the best price on behalf of our client. If we're haggling and try and get offset one manufacturer another one, we want a long-term relationship with our client. We don't want to get in there and do a quick deal. We want a long-term, 3, 4, 10 year plus over 20-year relationships. If the manufacturer's in there, obviously their price is whatever they say their price is, and there's no one in there to benchmark their price in. And we do see it quite often where people just want to deal direct. We do global deals. We've got lots of global clients. We can provide IT all around the world. So some vendors can do that, some can't. So it's having that flexibility. And I think the advantage of having a reseller, it may be that someone's buying an HP, a Dell, or Lenovo desktop, laptop, but there's lots of other options they're buying around there. They're buying Philips, they're buying Philips screens, they're buying Microsoft licenses. It just makes life easier. They can buy everything from one person. You don't need quite so many people in your procurement department.
Yeah, so if you've got a big company, let's say Barclays Bank were looking for a new supplier, why would a customer use you, VitrX, over CDW, Insight, Softcat? What would be the advantage?
I think it's the fact we're nimble. We can do stuff very quickly. I think it's the fact that my guys are in control of their own destiny, where they're buying the stuff as well. So, the pricing out there is pretty stable. It's pretty a bid is normally the same for most of the people, but it's having the flexibility to be able to make the pricing when you buy it as well. So my sales guys are negotiating their buy price and the sale price as well.
Okay, in the market, what competitors would you admire? In the top 100 companies, what companies do you think are actually good?
Top 100s? Well, we come up against the same ones most of the time. Softcat, very good. CDW, very good. All seems to be the same ones. Computer Centre.
So even though they're large organisations, there's no other companies you think actually, I'm not saying name them, but those that you're competing against, the big boys, aren't you? There, so the top, they're 3 of the top 5. So is that who you'd see as your competitors, the big, large ones?
Most of them, yeah. So there's other ones, some that we never heard of before, bizarrely. I don't know what it is, we come across some massive deals, and there's some reseller that is tiny, that's blatantly got no cash flow, that's been able to do that deal. I think the good thing is with distributors, we've got project accounts as well. So if we get a multi-million pound deal, it goes into the project account, doesn't affect the normal cash flow, which is quite good. 10
years ago, it was, or let's say, up to 10, 15 years ago, it was easier to sort of move a book of business, wasn't it? You've done it. You've had a customers yourself at the leasing company you work for. You've moved that book and you've started using those customers and transacting into VitrX. In 2020, how viable is it now that if you wanted to do this again, you said you were working for VitrX and you said, actually, I've got these relationships, I'm going to take them over to Vince Computers tomorrow. How easy do you think is it to transition them?
I think it probably helps if you're going from a very large organisation to a smaller reseller because they're flexible. So they've got that ability where you can be nimble, you can do things quicker, you haven't got so many decision makers. I know from past experience, to get terms and conditions signed off for a vendor would take anything up to 3 months. So you have to be very proactive and get things done in advance and know when the renewals are coming up because it was very painful. And the only person that's going to be penalised at the end of that is your client. So we'd almost end up buying from competitors there just to get stuff done. And the solutions delivered. So you're just eroding the margin there.
You've done it before?
Yeah. Just because we didn't have direct relationships, so we were buying through a partner that was supplying it, so we then got their terms and conditions. Which seems a bit crazy.
That's challenging.
Yeah, so I think it's having the flexibility to, we always look at it from the customer's perspective, having that ability to deliver what they want when they want, when you haven't got to get 10 people to sign the stuff off in the background. An authority and someone in a meeting that's out till 5 o'clock and you can't get your order signed off and you miss the opportunity.
As a business owner, what keeps you up at night? What's the biggest struggles you have?
I think I'm quite fortunate in the fact that the business runs itself. So admittedly, over the years, you have some highs and some lows. I think when you got a massive bill that someone owes you a lot of money and you don't think you're going to be paid, you're thinking it's probably normally around Christmas time, so it's coming up soon, where someone owes you a few million quid and you think they're going to bust or something. But the highs are very high. It's great having your own business, but the lows can be very low as well. I think when you've got hassle, you don't have one thing go wrong. It's like 20 things go wrong at the same time. But I'm quite fortunate that I've got some great people, and they tend to resolve them before they even tell me. They go, "I've got a problem, but don't worry, we sorted it."
So if you were going to advise someone who was maybe at a CDW or a Softcat or a top 100 partner who's got some really good relationships. Maybe they're a big biller. Maybe they're £1 million biller.
Yeah.
They've got some really good relationships. They think they can transition them and they want to start their own business.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
Don't do it. Come work at VitrX. or come in 6 months' time when it's all failed. Yeah. No, but it is tough out there. I think I was very fortunate. The distributors and all the vendors were very lenient and gave us some amazing credit lines to enable us to do some big deals. But it is tough moving business across from people. I've interviewed so many people, and there's people that have been in sales for donkey's years, and they've got no relationships. I've interviewed people before. It's like, how do you get your business? Well, I'll look at people that are moving office and Google a few companies and build relationships. It's like, that is never going to happen.
What would you say then is that the big difference between a 10k GP biller and a £1 million biller? What's the main differences? If you saw someone you think, well, you're just average, you're just doing 10k and they can't do it, or the big billers, what would you say is the main difference?
I think you need to have the passion, and I think you need to be trustworthy. You need to be able to deliver. There's so many people out there. I've got friends that are in the IT industry. Hopefully they're not watching this because there's someone I wouldn't employ. There's someone's like, I've hit my target, I'm going to go and play golf for the rest of the week. You need to employ people that are hungry. There's a lot of people that become complacent. They're just like steady with life. And you need people that are hungry, that want business. I think my eyes have been open from dealing with you, where you've put some good people into my business. I always thought, because we're dealing at a senior level with big organisations, I need someone that's very technical, really knows their stuff. Never really thought of sort of home growing our own ones and training people. I just thought that we're going in at sea level. Someone young, 22, 23, is not going to be able to hold that conversation, but you get someone that is very knowledgeable and worldly, and they can hold those conversations better than some of the other people can. Yeah,
because you touched on it earlier, and I thought it was almost unicorn-esque what you were asking for. You were asking for someone who's going to have the gravitas to be great at sales. They can hold a technical conversation. Some of your guys have come from an engineering background, etc.
Yeah.
Very, very unusual profile of that. So if you were looking for people, how would you actually find that? Because most people won't have that. Most people are a salesperson that's not really technical. The stuff you were talking about earlier, I didn't know nothing about. Or you're a technical person that hasn't maybe got the negotiation skills or the rapport building skills to be actually more sales led. So
yeah, that's the thing. I think you need to gauge your client. If I go in there, and I've been in meetings before with ex-colleagues, and they're just like blinding the customer with technology, and he's sitting there not understanding a word the client's saying. You need to know what they're technical before you start talking to them, because they're just like, you're just talking gobbledygook to them. So, if they're a technical person, you need to be able to talk technical. But I think it helps in the fact that you get credibility. If you're talking to a client and he starts talking technical and you can understand what he's wanting, I think you've got more credibility.
The last sort of topic I want to talk about with you is, and we've touched on it throughout the show, is relationships, what you've spoken about. So 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, whenever you want to start establishing a relationship, I found it was slightly easier to establish a relationship. You could identify the person. You're cold calling through for the yellow pages, and you could either go play golf with them or have a beer with them, etc., etc. And it was easy to establish a relationship. Now, it doesn't seem as easy to establish a relationship. There's before only a few people know the procurement director of local Joe Blogg's company. Exactly. Now it's on LinkedIn. 1 million people know who it is, whether they can get through to them and get their attention. So how can we now, for new and old people that have been in the industry for a long time, establish new and credible relationships?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's millions of people out there sending lists out. Do you want to buy this list, buy that list of names? And years ago, you go back, as you said, with the yellow pages, you'd ring the reception. The receptionist will answer the phone, and you say, "Can I speak to the bloke in charge of IT?"
Dave,
and she put you through. Yeah. Here's Dave, and Dave's like, "Hi, who are you?" Now Dave's getting 1,000 phone calls a day, because auto dialers and all sorts of things have been emailing them and sending them the latest, greatest offer where they can save them so much money. I think you need to, I think what we tend to do is give people information that we think is beneficial to their business. So if I see something that's interesting, so there was a big insurance company we deal with, saw some stuff the other day that was really interested in their sector, emailing the client their data, not trying to sell him something. Do you want this as a special offer this week, £50 off? Chance of someone buying that is minimal. And we've never done that. We won't e-shop people. Because what we're doing is just giving them rubbish, really, because we get enough of it ourselves.
How do you actually go about marketing and getting their attention? Because in a world where Dave from Joe Blogg's company, procurement director, is getting thousands of emails, etc., pricing, how does he how do you stand out from the crowd? How do you make sure that you actually see your stuff?
Well, ours is what's happening in the market out there. So we tend to do stuff on our website, which is then done via social media as well. So it's things in what's happening with the greatest products and things like that. What's happening with the latest technology, just give people interest. Some people would be interested in it. I know. There's some quite interesting articles I've learned from our marketing department to put on the website. Technology in different sectors and things. It's just things that are relevant to people's business, I think, rather than just feeding them offers and junk. Because you probably get rubbish all the time. There's so many emails.
Yeah, and I tend to get emails from people giving me price lists on something I don't even need and I don't even ever have. HCI software. I don't have human capital. I don't have a need for that. Or I'll have an email from ERP software. Can I be interested in this? Like I don't have that. And do you think that's just a lack of care that they're just spamming it out to everyone else?
Definitely. I get emails from China or from me light bulbs and all sorts of things that are not relevant to my business. I think it's make sure in your profiling the client, you're making sure that it is what that industry is going to need and that person. As you were saying, you don't want price lists for all this kind of stuff. And it may be that a supplier actually sells something that you would want or want to buy, but they need to understand. Look at your website. You probably know how many people come for an interview and you say, "We looked at our website." No, do you know what we do?
Embarrassing. Yeah.
I know loads of people don't do it. If you want the job enough, you're obviously not hungry enough for the business. So it's doing some research on the company that you're trying to sell to first and understand what they want and they're global. A bigger opportunity here. If you ring up and apply for a bid for a client, you want to try and get involved with the global stuff. We went to see a client recently. The guy there was buying from a supplier that's gone bust, quite a big supplier. He said, we've got a global bid. You can't do that stuff. We do the rest of the stuff. So why can't we do it? We've done 17 countries, a lot of equipment, millions of pounds worth of stuff in there, and really help them out as well.
So once you've established a company that you've dealt business with, say for instance your first deal, and you want to establish a relationship, before. Again, going back, it could be like, well, let's go out for dinner, let's go and have a few beers, let's go and have a game of golf, or whatever it is you could be doing to establish a relationship and move it on. How do you now establish the relationships in 2020? Because, for instance, I don't get anyone asking me out for dinner or asking me out for lunch I just get sent lists and lists and lists and I just ignore them. But if someone did ask me out for lunch, I probably would go. I quite like a lunch. But I'm interested now in your view, and moving into 2020. That how do you think relationships have differed than when they did before when we started selling?
I think it's tougher these days. Obviously, there's bribery acts and all sorts of things that you can't do. That everything needs to be detailed exactly what you're doing, where you're going. I know from past experience where friends have been working in industries where they've sponsored football teams and taken people out, and they've got no intention of buying from them. They're probably doing it to 10 different suppliers.
Yeah.
So it's tough out there now trying to win new relationships. We're quite fortunate, nearly all of ours are introductions, but it's taken a long time for me to build those relationships and trust.
So do you think that's the best way to do it now? So if you were trying to, if you wanted to double your new business companies next year, you just really rely on your existing relationships and leveraging them and getting introductions and network, and that's how you'd go about it.
Yeah, networking's a big one. It's just meeting people. It's to get into the decision maker is very difficult. And as you said before, there's so many people involved in the transaction now. We had a deal, there was 8 people in the procurement department. And we thought we got the first one, there was another one. Then suddenly someone left and there was someone replacing him. And it's really tough. And the other thing is that obviously we're pretty good at maintaining relationships. You've got an IT relationship and that guy leaves. LinkedIn's fantastic because you know where he's gone. Years ago he's disappeared, you never hear from him again. So it's really good in tracking people and maintaining relationships.
Within the channel, if I was again, let's say I was a big customer, Barclays Bank, and I had a £5 million deal, and I came to you, and I'd be thinking, well, you probably wouldn't be able to do it or have the distribution, credit lines, etc. Tell me about project accounts within distribution. How does that work? Where I might CDW, yes, I might be able to trust them, etc. But if I went to a little small company, I think actually can they do a big deal? Yeah,
we've done it many times. I think it's based on the fact that we'll speak to the client. We tend to go open book with a lot of the deals that are big as well. So the fact if we're selling to AJ Exports, it's a £5 million deal. I think I'll be a bit concerned myself.
Yeah.
The fact we're selling to Barclays Bank or something like that is credible. So in effect, the distributor is shipping it directly to the client anyway. They know where it's gone. Yeah. So it's just a paperwork transaction for them. And they probably know that if we didn't pay them for whatever reason, there's probably a pretty good chance they're going to be paid by the bank anyway.
Do you see as when vendors go direct that if distribution was involved a bit more, it'd be more seamless, or how do you see the value of distribution moving forward as well?
I think distribution seems to do a good job. I think that some of the vendors rely on the distributors. They put heads in there to help.
Funded heads.
Funded heads to help build relationships. And a lot of them are very proactive. And we do get some really good training and all sorts of things.
From distribution?
From distribution, yeah.
Do distributors come in and train your guys?
They do, yeah.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and there's people like Tech Data. They actually do onboarding. So if you bring a new person onboarding, they'll give them a full couple of days worth of training. They do it for free for you.
Really?
Yeah.
On what? What sort of training?
It's on their portal, it's on the products, but they tend to get a lot of the vendors in there as well. So the vendors tell you about different product range and things. But most of the distributors are doing training out there. And there's lots of online training as well, which is really good. Because there's so much training, you can be inundated. There's so much technology out there. But the good thing with the online training is if someone gets an opportunity, when they get home, they get their laptop out, they can go and do the training. So they're a semi-expert by the time they speak to the client the next day. Or get a better understanding of it.
What's your view in 2020? What's your view on there's a lot of people coming out into the market now saying that tin is completely dead. If you're selling tin, you're not going to be around in 2 or 3 years. But you've got to move into services. I know you've got a services business which is slightly separate. Yeah. But what's your view on tin is dead? We're not going to make any money out of tin anymore.
Well, for the moment, things are great because there's so many people pulling out of it. There's more opportunity for us. And we've
there's more people pulling out selling tin.
Yeah, so a lot of them are moving into security. So, and I know from a few people that the market's getting slightly saturated with the amount of security companies out there. And if you look at a lot of the reseller websites, it's all about security on the front of there now, rather than tin. So we're tending to work with a lot of those partners, and they tend to shift into tin for them. And a lot of the smaller MSPs didn't really have the cash flow to do big deals anyway in the first place, or they didn't have the accreditations either. So they'd probably go to distribution. They can buy from distribution, but they can't apply for a bid. And they can't get the pricing we can. So we'll just go open book with them and share the margin.
And what do you mean by open book? What does that mean?
We'll just tell them our buy price. So we just say, we'll apply for a bid, and that is our buy price. It's your client, you go and negotiate the deal. And
so they just tell them their margin, what they're going to put on and what they're going to sell it.
And we share it with them. So that's not a massive part of our business, but it's growing, I think. Because a lot of people don't want to get involved in moving a tin anymore. For them, it's very low volume.
Why though? There's still money in it, isn't there? There's still...
Yeah, but the thing is, it impacts on their cash flow. So if you're a small MSP, you haven't got the cash flow, and we've seen it before with people, and ask them why they don't do it, and they're saying it impacts on their cash flow. Where they've been burnt, but they go and do a deal, they've got a whole warehouse full of stock, and the client delays the installation of it where they're installing it. Suddenly they've got to pay for it. Then we pay by the client. The client's going, "Well, not paying for it. We haven't installed it yet."
Yeah, that's a big problem. So why would they do that? So the direct client would actually delay the installation, and the reseller and MSPs bought the stuff, and then they can't ship it.
Yeah, well, it could be a variety of different things. It could be they're relying on a new building to be built. It could be that they need some other technology in there before they can put the other bit of technology in there, or there's some software that needs to be installed, or memory needs to be upgraded in tills on EPOS sites or something. It could be a variety of different.
Give me an example of a typical deal then. So if I was a reseller and I was trying to get some credit lines from distribution, what sort of credit lines would I be able to get? If I had nothing, no credit history, etc.
Zero, probably.
It's literally nothing.
Well, the thing is, I think what we found is since I started the business, which is nearly enough 9 years ago, things got a lot tighter. Whereas before it was a nod and a wink and he looks all right. We sort of know him. We'll lend him some money. Obviously there's people need to be cautious because there's lots of companies that have disappeared through the recession and things that weren't there, and obviously cash flow is a killer for a lot of businesses.
It's harder now to do that.
It is. I think what happened before is someone would give someone a credit line, and 5 years later they'll probably go bust because they probably just think, they were credit worthy at the point they credit check them. Now they do that regularly to ensure they're still making profit.
What distributors or vendor will credit check partners all the time?
I think so, yeah, just to make sure. And the thing is that if they give you a credit line, you don't use it, they'll reduce that because obviously it reduces their risk. If they've got a whole portfolio of clients, they've got hundreds of millions of pounds out there. It's quite high risk with them. So if they can reduce that and the partners aren't buying stuff, and it encourages people to buy as well. If I've got a credit facility and I'm not using it, they'll take it away. Suddenly get a big deal in, I haven't got it there. So
I see. Yeah. So if I've got X million pounds worth of credit with West Coast and I'm not using it ever, that could be reduced.
Yeah. So it encourages you to spread your business around rather than giving it all to one distributor. And we use all the distributors anyway because it's great to have If we're selling a server, we buy the processor. Whoever's got the availability, we make sure we've got all the stock.
So if I was brokering a deal in your company and I had, obviously you've got access to all the distributors, would you go to every single distributor for a quote? Or there's 3 or 4 that you'd pick out?
We've got online pricing for the standard pricing, but with the bids, a lot of the manufacturers will lock you down there rather than going out to all of them. It's a lot of hard work for them. You tend to pick maybe 1 or 2 distributors to get the bid pricing. Something you can only do it with 1.
If we were going to make the channel more transparent and not as maybe dishonest as it looks in the market sometimes, but basically make these relationships a bit more effective, where distribution's working with resellers more effectively and vendors aren't going direct and trying to cut out deals, what would be the one bit of advice you'd sort of speak to people and say, well, this is what should happen in the channel at the moment?
Well, it's like deal regs. You apply for a deal reg and suddenly the deal reg is direct with the client. You speak to the client and he's not done it. Someone's done it somewhere. So
why has that happened? How can we stop that?
I know. Well, it's a tough one, really, isn't it? And we've seen it many times where we had a long-term relationship with the clients, and suddenly it's a deal reg with another reseller, and the customer's blatantly not spoken to that reseller. So someone's been through the yellow pages. I don't think it happens quite so much, but it used to, definitely a few years ago. So, but we do actually work in collaboration with a lot of the manufacturers as well. So there's somewhere Dell are selling directly, and sometimes if a customer's got a big deal, they've been given to an enterprise account manager. Suddenly, in between, the 3 years in between of that big deal, they want to buy bits and bobs, and there's an opportunity for people to get in there where we're supplying other products into that client. The odd laptop or desktop they need, we can do that.
My last question: if you were going to give, and we've answered a touch on it, if you were going to give either a sales manager or a sales executive some advice to establish himself as a really good salesperson or really good manager in the future, what bit of advice would you give them to actually make sure they're actually doing the right thing?
I think you need to deliver what you say you're going to do. That's the thing, that there's so many people who ring out there, suppliers and things, where they say they're going to do something they don't. Builder's a typical example. Having just built my house, that the builder's coming tomorrow. He's not coming tomorrow. If you're going to do something tomorrow, you need to make sure you're doing it there. I think I'm going to become, if I come back in life again, I'm going to be a builder, because I think I'll be quite a successful builder. It's just frustrating. I think it's meeting customers' expectations. If we're not going to deliver something, you need to tell your customer. If he's on site and the courier has got stuff will get shipped to the wrong depot, it's in Birmingham when it should have gone to London. If it's not going to be on site today, you need to tell the customer.
To say what you're going to do.
Yeah, don't hide. And we said that before. You can ring a distributor and they're not answering your phone because he's hiding, so I don't want to talk to him because it's been misshipped. Tell us. We can set our customers' expectations, and some of them are fine with that. They won't send an engineer to site tomorrow. They'll do it the day after. They can get on. He's not sitting away and waiting for something to arrive that's never going to arrive. So I think it's gaining trust, and it's very difficult if you've never sold anything before to win that trust. People need to know that you're going to be able to deliver what you say you can, and you can deliver 1,000 things perfectly. You can guarantee someone's going to mess something up for you. It's how you deal with that. You can order from me, and I can deliver stuff day after day after day. When something goes wrong, that's when people can judge you. What do you do to sort that problem out? And we're very good at that. We try and be proactive to make sure the customer is transparent, doesn't even see that there was an issue.
Yeah, brilliant. Vince, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time, for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.